What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Real Heroes Show. Nick here with you as always, and in this video I am going to be discussing episode 1 of Dexter New Blood, which has premiered on Showtime. And I never thought I'd actually say that again, watching Dexter. But I have to say it's good to see Michael C. Hall back in the role that he has done so well for 8 seasons in the past. Full discretion, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the episode, I would highly suggest you go watch it first and then come back and watch this review. If you're new here to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps support us for free. I'm not going to pressure you to like the video. But again, if you'd like to support us, then go ahead and hit that little thumb up button, right? So let's go ahead and dive in here. So it's looks like we're going to be getting 10 episodes for this season. And it's actually developed by the original series showrunner Clyde Phillips. And it looks like most of the episodes of the season will be directed by Marcos Siega. And of course, we have some familiar faces in this season, such as Jennifer Carpenter playing Deb, Dexter's deceased sister. Again, spoilers, right? If you haven't watched the last seasons of Dexter from years ago. So it's interesting how this season has jumped 10 years. Of course, we all know at the end of season 8, Dexter isn't dead and he fakes his own death. And of course, they're in a fictional town in upstate New York called Iron Lake, which is actually filmed in Massachusetts. And I actually liked the pacing of this episode. They didn't really waste any time, getting to the setting. Like, it's 10 years. He's moved on. He has a new identity. Jim Lindsay, and he's got a new love interest with Julia Jones, who plays the character Angela Bishop. And it seems like he's kind of reformed himself. And of course, you kind of hear from his inner monologue that he hasn't killed anyone in 10 years. So he's suppressed and looks like moved past his dark passenger self. And of course, there's one part in the beginning where you see Deb in his little cabin, and I'm like, he's imagining that. Of course, yeah, he was. But Deb has basically replaced Harry per his inner consciousness. So, if you're familiar with the original series, Dexter would always see and hear Harry as his inner consciousness, and would guide him in life and what he did and how he was able to stay alive and not get caught, essentially. And we see that again here coming from Deb. And of course, there's got to be a protagonist. And one of the things that you get a little glimpse of is people that have gone missing. There's some women that have gone missing, some young people that have gone missing. And if you pause it, you'll see in this little police station area where his girlfriend works, there's a wall, and it looks like there's quite a few pictures there. So you have to imagine at some point he might get involved, but it's also wondering about if he knows about it, maybe talk from Angela. Why hasn't he decided to do something? And again, he's not a detective. He's not going to try and, play detective, because he's past all that. But it's not until little antagonist comes, the first one, Matthew Clifford, who's this, bit of a douchebag, a real cocky attitude, thinks just because his dad is, has a name and, he's kind of, been a successful person on Wall Street and has made money, is kind of, this privileged dude who thinks he can just get away with everything, and literally is involved in something, in a boating accident that we find out about in this episode as well, that he got away with murder, literally. And Dexter works at this little fishing hunting lodge, and Nose is nice, and you can still see he's very meticulous with the way he sharpens his knives and the different like the butcher knife, and of course he gives it to another gentleman who's chopping up a pig, and these little like hints of Dexter, because if you know Dexter and his just this obsession he has with blood and seeing blood, that he might snap and kind of just go back into this dark passenger self, which we see at one point, right? But we're kind of wondering when it's going to happen and why hasn't it happened in 10 years, and if it's just because he really wasn't pushed to this certain point. And again, I thought it was also really interesting how a couple times when we see him running in the snow as he's trying to go hunting, and he just can't do it. He can't pull that trigger. He can't shoot that. I think it was a stag. Correct me if I'm wrong. And which actually wasn't really bad CGI. I thought it was pretty well done. It was somewhat believable. And he just finds this beauty at one point, which we'll get back to in a second here. But I think the story that we find from Matthew, how he's just continuously pushing. He's acting like a drunken idiot, at the tavern when everyone's sort of gathered to do line dancing and having a good time. He's pouring booze down one of his friends' face and mouth, and it looks like he doesn't really like it. Just acting like a clown, right? And he says, "Oh, I'm having a party, but there might be some red flags." So and he tries to buy an assault rifle, and of course when Jim says that we have to do a background check for the FBI, which rightfully so, and it doesn't come back. Even the next day, it doesn't come back that he's been cleared. Although the shop owner says, no, his father's been a good friend and has done a lot of business for us. Plus, it's $9,000 for the shop. Go ahead and sell it to him, and bring it to his house for this party that's happening. Of course, Dexter doesn't want to go, but he does anyway. And you can tell he's very awkward, and of course he's walking in on Matthew doing the dirty deed with some other girl, and he has an interesting conversation in the bathroom with Bill, who what a name, it's called Dick Face, right? Because he's got a little scar on his cheek, which I don't know, I guess kind of pushing it for the name, but I digress. Bill decides to do some coke, and then he opens up and tells Dexter the whole story about him taking the blame, and but he needs that $2,000 a week to pay for things, and the fall that he took for Matthew because Matthew was the one that was playing chicken on a boat with someone else, and even though the other guy steered away, Matthew could have kept going, but he steered right into them and killed 5 people. And again, he got away with it, and that really goes against Dexter's code. And you can see Dexter's getting nervous, and he doesn't really want to hear it. And it's almost like this inner turmoil of what should I do? And of course, we see one of those scenes that doesn't happen, but he's Dexter's imagining it as he's giving Matthew the rifle, and he signs off on it. And of course, the imaginary scene is him taking it and then just smacking Matthew in the face with it. But he just spaces out as he's imagining it, of course, and then dips out. And at that point, you're wondering, will something happen with that assault rifle and Dexter this episode, or maybe in a different episode? And of course, we see the next scene of him trying to go hunting again, and he gets super close to the stag, and of course you kind of know what's happening, right? It's sort of telegraphed that something bad's going to happen. Of course, it gets shot, blood goes over Dexter's face, and you know who it is. It's that our class clown. with Matthew, the drunken idiot who's shooting up a deer, and of course Dexter doesn't like it, and it just triggers this rage inside of him, where he actually does take the gun and butts, or it was his gun that he butts and knocks Matthew clean out. And then you start to hear the inner monologue. Oh my God, what do I do? Is it time? Rule number 1, don't get caught. So we see him, drag Matthew's body, and then cut scene to him doing his old routine where he tapes everything up and gets everything in the plastic wraps, and he just had all that still there, right? I mean, I guess it's sort of one of those things where, how could he have been okay with moving on? But maybe at some point he also figured, in the event that I continue my serial killer ways, I kind of have to Dexter has to have his materials somewhere for quote unquote safekeeping or in storage somewhere. But he had all the duct tape, he had all the plastic wrap, and he gets it all done, and he has Matthew on the table, and he starts to be his old self, and he gets the truth out of Matthew, and then Matthew at one point was trying to ask for forgiveness and doesn't want to be killed. Then he kind of snaps and just says "fuck you, Dexter," and or to Dexter, and then Dexter takes the knife and goes wham right in the stomach, and proceeds to do what he used to do. Of course, the little scene that we saw of him setting the trap in the little fishing, the frozen lake. I forget what that's called, like pond fishing. Correct me if I'm wrong there again, but he is going to use that. It's no Miami Bay Harbor. But who's going to go looking in that lake, I guess, right? So, especially if it's a small town. But again, because of who Matthew is, and because of who Matthew's father is, who we do see in the tavern, he's having this little lunch, and you got protesting going along because of the oil drilling and all that stuff, and there's going to be problems. And I'm kind of curious to see how this might catch up with Dexter, because of the title New Blood. Does New Blood necessarily mean he's back to his old ways, but there's just new blood being shed? Or, here's my transition, or is it new blood because we see Harrison find his old man? Harrison's grown up, right? He's probably, obviously a teenager. And if you watch the trailer for this show, you can see and even hear him say it. I just wasn't sure when we would actually see Harrison make his appearance. And again, I think because of this episode didn't really waste any time, picking at the pieces of where he was, what's going on, the antagonist, him going back to his killing ways, his son finding him, which would kind of be interesting to see if we know anything else. But it was kind of like at first when he decides to say, "No, you got the wrong guy," and you see Deb, the inner consciousness, say, "You have to tell him no, and you did the right thing." But then he invites him back into his home and basically is like, "Yeah, I am your old man." And I wonder at some point if Dexter will tell anyone else about his secret, or if he'll actually tell Harrison that he's a mass murderer. I don't know how he's supposed to take that. Again, there's a lot of secrets, and even when Bill tells Dexter the secret about Matthew, he's like, "I'm the place where secrets die," and boy, do we know that. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from Harrison's perspective of his father. And, what's Angela going to say the next episode? Not too sure how that's going to make sense. Because, again, this is only 10 episodes, and I believe the old seasons had 12 episodes. So, again, I think the pacing needs to be, quicker through these 10 episodes. And I think because you're cutting out 2 episodes from prior seasons, that allows more to be fit in, into the show. So, I'm curious, right? So I think after this first episode, which I'll give a rating about like a 7.5 out of 10. Again, I think there were some good points. Again, seeing Michael C. Hall in the role, it's just he pulls it off so well. And I know a lot of people were a fan of the show. And again, I don't expect people to go back and watch all 8 seasons because that's quite a few episodes. But those first four seasons of the original series were just phenomenal. That's where everyone got on the Dexter train, and then it fell off. Julia Stiles was a guest in the 5th season. I forget who was like the guest on season 6, but I think 7 and 8 had Yvonne Strahovski, and who I think was Harrison was left with her, and at the end of the original series. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if she'll make an appearance. I kind of doubt it. I don't think it would make any sense really for her to be there. It's like, hey, I'm your old fling, and you got a new fling now, and it would just be very very interesting. But considering his girlfriend's a cop, also very interesting. So, but I guess if you're killing people, it makes sense to be close to the people that would essentially stop you and put you in jail for life. So again, if you've seen this episode, what does everyone think? Did you like it? Did you think it was okay? Did you not like it? Are you excited for this season? Do you think this season will be promising? Do you think, again, it might be early to tell, but do you think after the season's over, will it just be a one and done? Or will it be good enough that we get a second season or maybe another spinoff? Personally, I think a one and done would probably be the best route to go. I don't know if a spinoff is warranted because this is kind of like a spinoff, right? It's like all these great shows that, or even good shows that happened before, but were open-ended, of course, because a character is still alive, that you could potentially create another show down the road like they've done here with Dexter. But leave your comments here in the video below. I am really intrigued by what they've done, and I think again it's going to be interesting to see where they go throughout the season. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for all of our future content notifications, and until next time, see you guys on the next video. Peace out.